What if I told you Canada's armed forces are no longer truly Canadian? Thousands of Indians are joining the ranks, while Canadian-born citizens are being pushed out. Is this a quiet takeover in plain sight, or the start of chaos to come? Chapter 1. The new face of Canada's army. For decades, Canada's military had one defining image: Canadian-born men and women proudly serving under the maple leaf, reflecting the country's identity. But today, that image is rapidly changing. Recruitment offices across Canada are reporting record-low interest from young Canadians, many citing low pay, high risks, and lack of trust in leadership. The result? Fewer locals signing up. Into this vacuum has stepped a flood of Indian background recruits. From Punjabi communities in Brampton to Indo-Canadian neighborhoods in Vancouver and Toronto, enlistment numbers are climbing. This is not just a trickle, it's a demographic wave. Entire training batches are now heavily dominated by Indian background recruits, reshaping the look, the sound, and the culture of the Canadian forces. Government officials frame this as a necessary step to fix Canada's recruitment crisis. But for critics, it's something more alarming: a systematic replacement of Canadian-born soldiers. Soldiers on the ground are noticing the changes. In mess halls and drills, languages like Punjabi and Hindi are increasingly spoken. Cultural practices, from food preferences to social customs, are making their way into once traditional military spaces. While diversity can enrich, the military is not just any workplace. It's a national defense institution where shared identity and loyalty are non-negotiable. As more Indians fill the ranks, many Canadians are asking, is this still our army? Or is Canada quietly giving away control of its own defense? Chapter 2. Why Canadians are being pushed out. Behind the headlines of diversity hiring lies a harsher reality. Many Canadian-born citizens are actively being pushed away from the army. The armed forces has struggled with scandals, outdated equipment, and poor career incentives. Young Canadians see long deployments, low pay compared to civilian jobs, and an institution plagued by sexual misconduct allegations. It's no wonder they stay away. Meanwhile, immigration channels are opening wider than ever. Indians, who already make up one of the largest immigrant groups in Canada, are being fast-tracked through military recruitment programs. Reports from inside recruitment offices suggest Canadians are often rejected for minor medical issues or paperwork errors, while foreign applicants are processed quickly to meet diversity quotas. Veterans warn that this is not accidental, it's by design. Policy shifts have placed emphasis on multicultural representation rather than preserving Canadian-born recruitment pipelines. For many Canadians who once dreamed of serving their country, the doors are closing. They are told the standards are too strict for them, while newcomers are handed opportunities. This imbalance breeds resentment. Some Canadian-born soldiers feel their loyalty is undervalued, while recruits with weaker ties to Canada are being celebrated. The message is clear. In Canada's new military, being Canadian by birth no longer guarantees you a place. Diversity quotas and immigration pipelines are rewriting the rules, and Canadians are the ones being booted out. Chapter 3. Numbers don't lie. The rising Indian presence. Numbers tell the story more powerfully than words. Recent data suggests that in some divisions, Indian background recruits make up more than 30% of new intakes, a staggering rise compared to just 10 years ago. In certain urban centers, training schools report that nearly half of new classes are South Asian, dominated by young men from Punjabi families. This trend is visible not only in uniform, but also in military housing and family bases, where Indian cultural influence is growing. Festivals like Diwali are now observed on bases, and Punjabi food is appearing in mess hall menus. Supporters say this reflects Canada's evolving identity, but critics see it as a sign of foreign cultural dominance within a national defense force. Drill instructors note that English and French, the official languages of Canada, are often outnumbered by Punjabi conversations, creating communication barriers during training. The rise in numbers also raises a pressing question. When one community dominates recruitment pipelines, how does that shape the military's internal power dynamics? Military analysts warn that such dominance could eventually extend into leadership roles. Imagine a future where the majority of officers in Canada's army share not Canadian-born backgrounds, but ties to another country. This is not paranoia, it's maths. And math shows that unless trends shift, Canada's military identity will be fundamentally rewritten within the next decade. Chapter 4. The security question: loyalty or liability? Armies are built on loyalty, trust, and allegiance to the nation. But what happens when a significant portion of soldiers may feel stronger ties to their ancestral homeland than to Canada itself? India, as a global power, has growing geopolitical interests. It also has a strong influence over its diaspora communities abroad, including in Canada. When a large number of Indian background soldiers serve in Canada's army, critics warn of potential divided loyalties. In conflicts where Canada's interests clash with India's allies, whose side would these soldiers truly serve? Intelligence experts highlight the risk of espionage and information leaks. Military insiders fear that classified Canadian defense strategies could be compromised through diaspora networks. There are also concerns about political influence. A military heavily staffed by one immigrant community can be used as leverage by foreign governments, pressuring Canada into favorable policies. Critics call this building Canada's army with borrowed loyalty. A country's sovereignty is only as strong as the loyalty of its soldiers. Canada's allies are watching too. NATO partners may question Canada's reliability if its armed forces appear too heavily influenced by outside populations. In the end, the Canadian Armed Forces are not just soldiers in uniform. They are the frontline guardians of sovereignty. And right now, Canada is gambling with the trustworthiness of its most important institution. Chapter 5. The chaos ahead. What Canadians must decide. If current trends continue, by the next decade, Canada's armed forces could be majority Indian in composition. This would fundamentally alter the relationship between the army and the Canadian public. Citizens expect their military to reflect their culture, their values, and their national identity. A force that no longer looks, sounds, or feels Canadian risks losing legitimacy in the eyes of the very people it is supposed to protect. Inside the military, cultural divides could lead to fractures. Soldiers who feel outnumbered or culturally isolated may resign, further accelerating the demographic shift. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. Fewer Canadians enlist, more immigrants fill the ranks, and the imbalance grows until Canada's army is no longer recognizable. The consequences won't stop at the barracks. This military transformation will influence politics, society, and Canada's international reputation. An army dominated by one foreign background community raises questions about who truly controls the nation's defense. Some predict internal clashes, mistrust between units, and a rise in identity-based tensions spilling beyond the military into everyday Canadian society. At its core, this is not just about recruitment. It's about whether Canadians are willing to fight for their national identity or quietly watch as it is replaced. The choice must be made now, before the chaos becomes irreversible. Do you believe Canada's armed forces are truly under Canadian control anymore, or are we witnessing a silent takeover? Comment below with your thoughts. Share this video to spark the debate, and don't forget to subscribe for more hard truths the media won't tell you.